Amara, I want you to go to school. I want you to become someone great. I'll sponsor you.
You work too hard already. I can't let you do that.
Don't worry about me. I have enough. Just promise me that when you succeed, you'll remember me.
Well, if you say so. Thank you so much, Liu. I will love you always.
Long ago, in the quiet and peaceful village of Umwaka, there lived a humble carpenter named Ikena. He was known across the village for his gifted hands, hands that could turn the roughest piece of wood into something beautiful. His little workshop stood under a giant mango tree at the edge of the market square. From sunrise to sunset, the sound of his hammer and saw filled the air, mingling with the laughter of children and the chatter of market women. Ikena was not a rich man, but he was content. He worked hard, he was honest, and everyone respected him for his kindness. Yet, there was one thing missing in his life: a woman to call his own. He was in his early 30s, tall and dark, with broad shoulders and a heart as gentle as rain. But his work consumed most of his days, and he never found time for love. That changed one afternoon. He was returning home from the market, carrying planks on his shoulder, when he saw Amara, a young girl who had just finished secondary school. She was helping her mother sell fruits by the roadside. Her skin glowed like morning dew, and her eyes sparkled with innocence. She smiled shyly when Ikena greeted her, and that simple smile struck something deep inside him. From that day, he always found a reason to pass by the fruit stand. Sometimes he would buy more oranges than he needed. Other times, he would stop just to ask how she was doing. Slowly, they became friends. Soon, friendship turned into affection, and affection blossomed into love. Amara was everything a man could wish for: beautiful, respectful, and humble. She would visit Ikena's workshop after school, bringing him food and water. She would sit quietly watching him carve wood, sometimes humming softly as the evening sun dipped below the palm trees. The whole village admired them. They looked perfect together. But Ikena loved her more deeply than anyone could imagine. He saw in her not just a lover, but a future. He wanted her to have a better life, one he never had the chance to live. So one evening, as they sat under the mango tree watching the stars, Ikena said softly, "Amara, I want you to go to school. I want you to become someone great. I'll sponsor you." Amara's eyes widened in shock. "Ikena, no! You work too hard already. I can't let you do that." But he smiled, taking her hand. "Don't worry about me. I have enough. Just promise me that when you succeed, you will remember me." Tears welled in her eyes. She hugged him tightly and whispered, "I promise. I will always love you. I will make you proud." The next few years tested Ikena's strength and patience. He worked from dawn till midnight, sometimes skipping meals just to pay Amara's school fees. He made chairs, tables, and even coffins, anything that would bring in money. He sold 2 of his father's old farmland to ensure she lacked nothing. At first, everything seemed perfect. Amara would call him every night from her small phone, laughing and telling him stories about school. She would send pictures of her in her uniform, sometimes even short videos of her singing. Whenever she returned home for holidays, she ran straight to Ikena's workshop. She would sit on his workbench, teasing him about the sawdust on his clothes. The love between them was the talk of the whole village. Even Ikena's friends, Chike and Ifeanyi, began to envy him. But one evening, as they drank palm wine under the moonlight, Chike spoke seriously. Ikena, my brother, you are a good man, but be wise. Don't let love blind you. Women change. When she goes to the university, she will meet men with big cars and money. Don't say I didn't warn you. Ikena frowned. Amara is not like that. She's different. She respects me. Ifeanyi sighed, shaking his head. We are not saying she's bad, but temptation is strong, my friend. Be careful. Ikena laughed it off. You two don't know her like I do. She's my everything. She won't forget me. The day Amara received her admission letter to the university, it rained heavily. She ran to Ikena's workshop, drenched but overjoyed, waving the letter in her hand. Ikena lifted her and spun her round, laughing like a child. She cried tears of joy, saying, "You did this for me. I'll never forget it." They made a promise that day to love each other forever. Before she left for school, Ikena bought her a small phone, a watch wrist, and a Bible. He also gave her money for her journey. He watched her bus disappear down the dusty road, feeling both proud and heartbroken. The first months were beautiful. They video called every night, talking about everything: her lectures, her friends, the food in the hostel. On weekends, she would travel back home to visit him, bringing little gifts she bought from the school town. Every time she came home, Ikena would fix her chair, buy her favorite food, and listen to her stories until nightfall. But something was slowly changing, something he couldn't see coming. When Amara entered her 300 level, Ikena began to notice small things. Her calls grew shorter. Her laughter on the phone wasn't as warm as before. She said she was busy with schoolwork, group projects and exams. She stopped sending pictures. Sometimes she would go 2 days without picking up her calls, only to text later, "Sorry dear, my battery died." Ikena tried to understand. He told himself she was just focused on her studies. But one weekend, he decided to surprise her. He took a bus to her university, carrying a small bag of gifts: plantain chips, palm wine, and a dress he had bought from the market. He smiled all the way, imagining her excitement when she saw him. When he arrived, he asked a few students about her hostel. A kind girl led him there. He knocked on the door, heart pounding. A girl opened it and looked at him strangely. "Who are you looking for?" "Amara," he said with a smile. "Please tell her Ikena is here." The girl hesitated before replying, "Amara, she's not around." But as he turned to leave, he heard laughter inside, Amara's voice. His heart sank. He stood outside in silence for a long moment, the gift still in his hand, before quietly walking away. The wind felt colder that evening. Little did he know, his nightmare was only beginning.
Ikena returned to Umuaka a broken man that day. His heart felt heavy, as if 1,000 nails had been hammered into it. He sat alone in his workshop, staring blankly at the chair he was carving for a customer. The mango tree above him swayed gently in the wind, but its usual shade brought him no comfort. He told no one what had happened. He didn't even have the strength to cry. All he could think about was how Amara had looked at him before she left for school. The tears, the promises, the laughter. Had all of that been a lie? Days turned to weeks, and he tried calling her, but she always had excuses. "Sorry dear, I've been busy. I slept off after lectures. My phone was on silent." Sometimes she didn't pick up at all. When she finally did, her voice sounded distant, cold and uninterested. Chike noticed the sadness in his eyes one evening and asked, "Has Amara been calling you?" Ikena sighed. "Not like before. I think schoolwork is stressing her." Chike chuckled bitterly. My friend, that's how it starts. When a woman's heart is changing, her voice changes too. Watch closely. Ikenna didn't want to believe it. He loved her too much. He still kept her pictures by his bedside and sent her money every month. Money he worked day and night to earn. Even when he was tired, he would still take extra jobs, thinking about how proud she would be when she finally graduated. But Amara's world had already changed. When she entered her 300 level, she met Tobechukwu, a tall, light-skinned man who drove a black Lexus and wore expensive clothes. He was from a wealthy family and was known around campus as Tobe the Don. Girls whispered his name like a secret wish, and his smell could melt even the hardest hearts. At first, Amara avoided him. She loved Ikenna, and she didn't want to betray him. But Tobe was persistent. He would send her lunch during lectures, surprise her with gifts, and wait outside her hostel just to walk her to class. He told her stories of Lagos, of luxury, and of life beyond the dusty streets of her village. "You are too beautiful to waste your life with a carpenter," he would say with a charming grin. "You deserve comfort, class, and happiness. You deserve me." At first, she laughed it off, reminding him that she already had someone. But Tobe wasn't the type to give up easily. One day, he took her and her friends to a fancy restaurant, the kind she had only seen in movies. The food was delicious, the air smelt of money and perfume, and the sound of laughter echoed like music. That night, when she returned to her hostel, she sat quietly and thought of Ikenna. She remembered his sawdust-covered clothes, his cracked hands, and his small workshop. For the first time, she felt ashamed of him. She told herself it wasn't love fading, it was just her wanting more out of life. Weeks passed, and Amara's heart drifted farther from Ikenna. The video calls became short and awkward. She no longer smiled the way she used to. Her messages turned into single words: okay, good night, I'm fine. Sometimes she didn't pick up at all. When she finally did, her voice sounded distant, cold, and uninterested. Ikenna asked if everything was all right. She snapped. "Must we talk every time? I have exams, Ikenna. I'm not a child." He apologized immediately, afraid to upset her further. He still believed in her. He told himself that love was patience, that she would come around again. But each time he saw her status updates, pictures in fancy dresses, at parties, holding expensive handbags, his heart sank deeper. He could not afford such things, but he was happy if she was happy. Then one day, she stopped visiting entirely. When he asked when next she was coming home, she said, "Maybe next semester. School is tight." But the truth was, she had already begun spending her weekends with Tobe, traveling to hotels and beaches in nearby cities. The poor carpenter she once called her world had become a distant memory.
Months later, when she finally returned home during a short break, the villagers were excited to see her. She looked transformed, light-skinned from body creams, wearing high heels and a wig that reached her waist. Even Ikenna's friends were stunned. Chike whispered, "My brother, are you sure this is still your Amara? She looks like someone from another world." Ikenna only smiled, heart racing. He couldn't wait to see her. He had saved money to buy her a gold-plated necklace and a pair of shoes. That evening, he went to her mother's house. Amara came out reluctantly, her face cold. "Ikenna, I didn't tell me you are coming." "I wanted to surprise you," he said softly, handing her the gifts. She looked at them, then at him, and sighed. "Oh, you shouldn't have bothered. I don't wear these things anymore." He froze, confused. "But I thought you'd like them. Ikena, she interrupted. I've changed. I'm not that same village girl anymore. You don't understand my word now. Her words cut through him like a sharp blade. He left that night with tears in his eyes. For the first time, he began to understand what his friends had tried to warn him about. Still, he loved her. He couldn't stop. He told himself she was just confused, that she would come back to him someday. But fate was not done humiliating him yet. The day of Amara's graduation came like a dream. The village buzzed with pride. One of their daughters was now a university graduate. Ikena borrowed money from friends and traveled to the city, his heart full of hope. He carried a small velvet box with a silver ring inside. He wanted to propose to her, to seal their love before the whole world. When he reached the campus, he saw her in her graduation gown, radiant, glowing like the sun itself. She stood beside Tobe, who wore a fine suit and sunglasses, his arm proudly around her waist. Still, Ikena smiled and walked toward her, calling softly, Amara! She turned. Her expression stiffened. Ikena, what are you doing here? I came to celebrate with you, he said, kneeling down as he opened the box. You kept your promise. Now let me keep mine. Marry me, Amara. A murmur spread through the crowd. But instead of joy, Amara burst into laughter. Cold, cruel laughter. She said loudly, Marry me? You think I went to the university just to marry a poor carpenter? You can't even afford the shoes I'm wearing. Look at you. Sawdust all over your clothes. People began whispering. Some laughed. Others shook their heads in pity. Ikena froze in disbelief. His hands trembling, the ring glinting in the sun. Amara, is this you? He whispered. After everything I did for you. She turned away and said coldly, Please don't embarrass me. Go back to your workshop.
Ikena stood there, numb. The crowd dispersed, leaving him alone in the middle of the school compound, broken, humiliated, and empty. As the sun set that evening, he walked back to the bus park in silence, tears streaming down his face. Every coin he had, every drop of sweat, every dream, all gone with one heartless word. He wished the ground would open and swallow him. Little did he know his story was far from over. The gods of the land had seen everything, and they never sleep. Time, they say, is the true storyteller. Years later, Ikena's business grew beyond imagination. His handmade furniture caught the attention of a foreign company, and he became one of the most successful craftsmen in the region. One afternoon, a tired woman entered his showroom. Her once beautiful face was worn by hardship. It was Amara. Her rich man had abandoned her, and life had humbled her. She stood there silently, tears in her eyes, whispering his name, Ikena. He looked at her calmly, then smiled faintly. Ikena said, We carve our destiny with the tools we choose, Amara. You chose gold over love. I chose work over regret. She fell to her knees, but Ikena gently walked past her into his bright office, where his workers greeted him, Oga Ikena, the great carpenter. The same hands that once built her dreams now built his empire.
And the village learnt that day, a heart that loves truly may bend, but it never breaks. It only learns to build stronger. If you were Kenna, would you forgive her?
Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comment section.